Mehra is our market master of the day, founder and chairperson, MD of First Global. She's with us. Devina, it's always a pleasure. Great to have you with us here. Season's greetings and wishing you and everyone at your end a very happy Diwali and Happy New Year. Just a quick word, Devina, on US elections, and do you think that is the one, and how will it play out? A simple question for our viewers, what they'd want to know is, who's better? Is it Trump or is it Harris for Indian equities?
Good morning, Prashant, and I have happy news somewhat to you as well as to the viewers and everybody in the CNBC team. It is very hard to say what would be better for Indian equities. For one thing, I mean, the whole impact on US equities itself is not that easy to foresee, and this is like a few steps removed as far as their political stance on for example, the Israel war. The Democrats have been just as of hardliner and supportive of Israel as Trump. So it's hard to see, though. I mean, whatever be the other reservations on Trump, I must say the last time he was president, he was actually fairly good for the business and the economy. I mean, he did do a lot of good things. However, distasteful many of his other things are.
Okay, well, I think we'll have the answers. We just have to, it's the cliffhanger. The wait is another 2 days, and then we'll finally know, and then markets can decide what's good or not and make their peace with it. But Devina, the bigger issue is this fall here in India, and it's relentless. Even this morning, when we typically don't discuss markets here and now with our guests at this hour, but it's just an illustration. It's a 200-point fall suddenly with no fresh negative triggers. Now, we all thought it's China first, but the Chinese market is down. Hong Kong is down 10% in the last 1 month. Mainland China is down 6-7%. So this whole exodus of FPI money, I mean, what have you made of it? It's clearly not over. And the market's now coming down to very critical levels. Technical analysts are saying maybe a test of the 200 DMA will happen. What have you made of the October correction in India, which is now moving into November?
Okay, two things. First, of course, I'll sound like a broken record that there is really no correlation between the FPI buying or selling and the market movements over, even when the domestic mutual fund industry was not so big, or even when the retail participation was not so large. So looking at what's happening in China and therefore what is happening in FPI and therefore what will happen to India is totally the wrong lens to look at it. As far as the correction is concerned, this is something that I'd been anticipating for a while. So if you go back to my earlier interviews, I have been saying that, the correction is very much on the cards. It will happen. Only I have been a little nuanced at like two tiers, which is the large cap mainstream stocks and indices. While there will be a correction, I have not been worried that it would be a very sustained crash. And the reason for that is, of course, that 2010 to 20, the returns were very much below the trend line. So you got basically fixed deposit returns for that whole decade. And that created the room for the bull run. We are still not much above the trend line. In fact, we are not even at the trend line. So given that the risk of a sustained crash is limited there, but there have been enough areas in the market which have been very frothy, which again, I have been talking about in my previous interviews also. And that's where you need to be careful, whether it was this IPO frenzy or, there have been phases of this PSU, defense, and all kinds of shady small and micro caps. I mean, there are, of course, good companies there as well. But once this kind of froth comes, then the good, bad, and the ugly, everything goes up. And as the past history shows, many of those stocks never make a comeback. So, that's something you must remember. So to recap, I'm not that worried on the larger mainstream indices, while there might be interim pain. But there are enough areas where things will never come back.
By the way, I just want to mention here that the levels that we are quoting at right now, we're very quickly coming to the lows. I mean, that lower end of this range that we were talking about, Prashant highlighted that. I was also mentioning that. Yeah, I mean, we're getting very close to testing those levels now, Nigel.
Indeed. We're moving towards recent lows. Actually, the 24,000 mark, that's the round number. That's the number that you do want to break today. So for the time being, though, that it appears the gates opened out, and in fact, the selling just started, particularly in the broader markets. Now we have only around 450 stocks that are, advancing. Well, Devina, good morning and good to see you win as always. Trump will be good, I guess, for the US economy. From an India perspective, who's better?
That's, as I said, speculative. And often, in many of these news-driven things, even the first reaction of the market is not what it eventually is. I have been reading this book called Business Adventures, which talks about incidents which happened in 1960s and 1930s. And so often it happens that, market goes one way every day. If the media finds reasons why it happened, and then the next day it goes another way. And then there are enough reasons on that side also. I think this is, and as I said, in any case, the FPI flows do not determine Indian market direction. But we were talking about how much the market is down. I was looking at, you were talking about how much the market is down, and I was looking at past 16, 20 years data, and all of that shows that almost every year.
I think Devina's network. We lost you there, Devina. If you can hear us, but stay with us. We're just going to try and reconnect that connection in just a bit, and we'll come back to you. 500 stocks are higher, and you've got about 1,900 stocks which are lower. That's a steep one-way kind of a decline that you have on your hands at this point. PVR Inox is down 3%. That's at about 1530. It's down sharply. You've got PG Electroplast, which is down 3%. Just sort of highlighting some single stocks. Supreme Industries is down 3.5%. All on decent-sized volumes for this point in the day. Kirloskar Brothers is down 3%. Look at Star Health. I think Star is down 5%. It had reported numbers on Thursday, was it, or Friday after market hours last week. Stock had seen a correction, but that's a pronounced one coming in this morning as well. I think PCBL, Polymed, some of these names we've highlighted. Vari Energy, big mover on Thursday and then on Friday as well. And that is coming off about 4.5%, 5%. I think Devina is back with us. Devina, please, you were saying you were comparing this correction to the previous ones. Go on.
Yeah, so I was looking at the 16-20-year data, and it was nearly every year you have a double-digit correction. I think there are only a couple of years that are exceptions to that. So it is not so, while you are going through it, it appears very, very massive, but it's not really so. We all know in theory that equity returns are volatile, but when you are living through it, it always seems like the end of the world, but it isn't. If you look at just the move that the market has made in this financial year itself, and we know because we were hedged going into the financial year, we were hedged going into the election results. But now, while we hold some of those hedges still, they are so far away from today's prices that they're not very relevant anymore. So, just don't lose perspective. But of course, there's been this list of stocks that's been circulating on social media even last week, showing how many stocks are down 30, 40, 50% and even more. And that always happens. That the frothy areas of the market, as I said, many stocks never make a comeback. So more than half the stocks that have ever been listed in the Indian market, you can say, have gone to zero. So don't forget that.
No, I think the market's a great teacher. It always tends to remind when you're, in that exuberance mode. And I think we're in that period now. By the way, I just want to point out that the cut on Bajaj Auto is now 4.5%. It has become one of the weakest stocks in the Nifty, but it's not alone. Even Hero Moto, which relatively speaking, if you just go by the numbers, Hero's delivered better sales growth in October than Bajaj. But even Hero's turned. It started positive, and look at the selling come through very, very quickly on that stock. And then the crunching issue for the market really is Reliance. Reliance is down to 2.5%. I think we'll have Mr. Rakesh Sharma join us in the next couple of minutes. Before we... I think he is ready. Okay, Mr. Sharma, good morning. We will let Devina go on that note. Devina, thank you so much for being with us. Great to have your perspective, and we look forward to talking again soon.